tell. It's gonna be a great Noel. It's the Advent Calendar House. Muppets, Batman, Smurfs, and even Garfield's Halloween. We're gonna take a trip down memory lane. Frosty, Rudolph, and a bunch you've probably never seen. It's Mike and pals that come to entertain. Turn the knob and lift the latch for fun and laughs that can't be matched. But just beware the icy patch. It's the Advent Calendar House.
Welcome to the Advent Calendar House, and thank you so much for Donnie Storms and his band Bronwyn's Ghost for recording that amazing new theme song, apropos of nothing. It was a gift, and I love it so much, it's like getting a warm scarf. And speaking of scarves, today we're walking in the air back to 1982 or thereabouts to melt over one of my absolute favorite TV specials, The Snowman. I am surgically replacing my nose with a pineapple, Mike Westfall. And joining me, relaxing in his icebox after a motorcycle joyride through the dark woods at 2 a.m, please welcome Adam from the Merry Britsmas podcast. Hello, Adam.
Hi. It's very exciting to hear you say you like it already, which is, I was expecting from some Americans that I know that have encountered this special before, do not like it very much. They find it very boring. I don't know, but I'm excited to hear that you like it already. That's got me in a good mood of straight away at the start of this episode.
Oh, good. Well, see, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to invite you on here, because this is something that I've loved since I was a kid. I immediately hooked onto, and then when I was talking to other people about it, most of them didn't know what it was, and the ones who did weren't really interested. Another reason I wanted you in particular on this episode is I knew you were the man I wanted to talk to because you start every episode of your podcast with a clip from an adjacent special, Father Christmas.
An happy blooming Christmas to you and all.
Yes, the other Raymond Briggs festive special, the Father Christmas, who does obviously appear in the Snowman as well. It's if you're British and you watch telly as a child at Christmas, this is ingrained in your mind. This and the Father Christmas specials, really. The whole Raymond Briggs Christmas world is just part of your childhood.
Okay, so this is a huge deal in the UK then.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose sort of to make a comparison, it's a bit like Rankin Bass or Charlie Brown Christmas to Brits.
Wow, okay.
But on the same flip side, if you speak to a lot of British people, they won't know much Rankin. They might have, they'll have heard of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and they might have heard of Charlie Brown Christmas. They might know the song, but it's not something that will be part of their cultural Christmas childhood like it is to a lot of Americans. But Snowman is to us, absolutely.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense now that you mention that, because I didn't know, like, my first question off the top was, how big is this? But if this is like the childhood Christmas special, that explains everything, really, because I assumed for a long time that this was this can't miss classic over here because it was on. My mom must have taped it off the TV at some point when it aired here in the States, and I watched it every Christmas, and I thought it was a can't miss for everybody. And then I grow up and I hear people on our Discord. We're on a Discord with other Christmas podcasters. We mentioned this one, and some of them don't think it's very Christmassy, which is weird.
Especially for me, yeah, because as a British Christmas kid, I'm like, this is Christmas. This is Christmas Eve. You have to watch this on Christmas Eve if you're a young person in Britain, basically.
Oh, really?
It's almost the law. I think Channel 4, I'm pretty sure to this day, it's still every single Christmas Eve they have it on. I don't know how back since to the 90s, maybe early 90s, whenever it started sort of being syndicated on television properly. For the last 30 years, really, it's a Christmas Eve tradition for a lot of households, I think.
Wow, okay. I did see that. I think it was the year 2000, the British Film Institute made a list of the 100 best British TV programs of the 20th century, and The Snowman came in at number 71.
Yeah, exactly. It's big. It's not just, it's not just a Christmas thing even. It is, but it's an institution. It's, everyone will recognize the Snowman if they see the Snowman figure. And he's used in lots of advertisements and all sorts of things as well over here. So there's that sort of just instant recognition. He's a character that's beloved, and as you say, that's a list of it wasn't even Christmas things, was it? It's just 100 TV programs.
Yeah, it's everything.
Yeah, exactly. And that shows, that to make it into a list where every other TV show in Britain is potentially on there shows the value of the Snowman here in Britain.
Yeah, and that's a good point to quickly get into the history of the Snowman. Which was first a wordless picture book by illustrator Raymond Briggs in 1978. Is that his best-known work?
I'd say so, probably, but mainly as a result of this special. He obviously did Father Christmas first, which was also a picture book about Father Christmas and a very British outlook of Father Christmas in the book and in the TV special. He's, lives in a little British house with a cat and a dog, and he grumbles and mumbles and moans, and he's just a very British character. And he had a couple of other there was something called Fungus the Bogeyman, which is basically like a giant, booger or bogey, however you want to call it, a giant piece of snot that's sort of monster. And that was quite popular, especially amongst for little kids. It's a very much a preschool, tiny little children's book. And I remember reading that when I was very little and finding it quite funny. But I'd say that his most popular stuff is his children's things. And then he wrote a couple of more adult things as well, which I don't know if you saw in your research. He wrote something called Ethel and Ernest, which was based on his parents.
I did see
that. And then he wrote something quite horrifying, actually, called When the Wind Blows. I haven't read that myself, but I've read about it, and just reading through the Wikipedia, because I did an episode on Raymond Briggs on my podcast last year, just on his life, really. Was reading about that, and then I reread it again recently when I was going to be recording this with you. I just can't believe that the same man that wrote The Snowman wrote this quite horrible nuclear war story. I think it's a graphic novel. It's like illustrated, very much similar style.
That's what it looks like, yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of, I mean, I don't even want to talk about it. It's upsetting.
yeah. Go. I'm going to put a link to When the Wind Blows on in
Go
the
look
show
at When
notes.
the Wind Blows.
Go look at it and just ponder it for a bit.
Yeah.
But Raymond Briggs then approved the creation of a TV adaptation of this book, The Snowman, which first aired on Channel 4 on the 26th of December, 1982. It debuted the day after Christmas.
Yes, what we call Boxing Day.
Okay. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's still a very important day in Britain as well. That's the thing. It's I think I've spoken to quite a few Americans and people just from outside Britain who they don't quite understand Boxing Day is almost a second Christmas for most British people. It's kind of the Christmas without obligation or expectation. You can just sort of, slump on the sofa all day, eat whatever's left over, hang about, and sort of there's no, the expectations of Christmas, maybe visiting family or going out for dinner, having to cook dinner, lots of things going on. And then Boxing Day is just the day to completely relax, maybe see family informally and watch television. And so there'd be a lot of quite good television specials, and Christmas specials would air on Boxing Day instead of Christmas Day, because people are sat inside watching television all day basically, and just, probably absolutely super tired in front of the sofa from a busy day the day before. So they're just there to watch telly. So even though it was the day after, it's probably targeted in that way.
I like the idea of Boxing Day. We need to get on that.
I know. I can't believe it's not a thing in America. It's a bank holiday as well. I think it was a bank holiday. I think they might have changed it. So most people got a day off, but now they do like sales on Boxing Day as well. They do some Boxing Day sales that are quite a big deal. But it's just that I say this with a very sneaky, quiet voice, because I'm a Christmas podcaster who loves Christmas and is obsessed with Christmas. Sometimes I prefer Boxing Day to Christmas Day.
Well, I mean, it sounds like my kind of holiday that just sit and chill for a bit, because
exactly, and you get all the leftovers from the day before, and chocolate still hanging about and stuff, and so you get all the food without all the stress, maybe, I suppose, of Christmas, and the sort of tension you get sometimes at Christmas. If it's a big party or dinner or something, and family members around or people you might not be too keen on. Boxing Day is just I just stay home and eat whatever's leftover food and just watch television. It's no obligation. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I can definitely get behind just a recovery day from the lead up to Christmas.
That's what it is, a recovery day.
Wow. So The Snowman was directed by the late Diane Jackson, who also worked on Yellow Submarine and the Beatles Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, it's quite interesting. I didn't really know her name actually. That she's not famous for. She didn't direct anything else or anything big. I think she maybe directed some other animation stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, to find out she did some Beatles stuff is quite exciting. Actually,
Yeah.
quite cool. Adds a little bit of, I don't know, cool '60s factor to this Christmas Kids special.
Right. The book was illustrated entirely in colored pencil, and the special sort of recreates that really brilliantly with crayon and pastel.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love his illustration style generally. I've got a little collection of the Snowman and the Two Father Christmas books in like a little box. It's quite nice. My wife bought me for Christmas a few years ago.
Oh wow!
And it's just, it's nostalgic to get out and look at it. But whenever I do, I'm just always impressed by the simplicity and the beauty of the artwork. And the same when I was watching the special again recently for this. It's so simple, the artwork. There's nothing complex about it. There's nothing, I wouldn't say it was, a work of art in the way you might. It's not like perfectly designed faces and everything. It's all very simple and childlike almost, I suppose.
Yes,
maybe that's quite childlike. And that makes it quite sweet and works quite well. Like, notice one bit in the cartoon special, there's a cat and the cat gets scared and it becomes a big ball of fuzz. And it's just such a simple drawing, just like a little cat face with lines coming off it from all around to make it look like it's all spiked up. But it's perfect. It captures that sort of, that feeling and that moment perfectly in such a simple way. So it's impressive in its simplicity, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's what made it stand out for me as a kid, because I drew a lot when I was very little. Between that art style and the fact that this takes place in a very snowy landscape, this makes the whole special just feel like it was actually drawn on paper. Yeah,
it feels very, again, sort of child friendly and family friendly and just lovely and cozy in that respect. Yeah, it's that coziness of it, which again is perfect for Christmas and makes you feel that sort of cozy, wrap underneath the blanket, sort of festive vibes in the way it's stylized and drawn.
Mm-hmm. And also, like the book, the special has no dialogue. It's almost entirely wordless, save for one song, which we'll get to.
Yeah, an unusual choice, but
yeah,
again, it works for that coziness. I think that the sort of soundtrack and the visuals work. Where I suppose maybe if you're getting a voice actor in to do something, it might ruin that magic. Obviously, it's hard to tell with because we've never seen it with a voice. But I feel like if you had them chatting to each other for half an hour.
Well, that's a good point, because I remember looking up the soundtrack, because the music is another thing that just stands out for me with this special. The music was composed by Howard Blake, who also scored the non-Queen portions of the movie Flash Gordon, which I did not know, and that's amazing.
Yeah. Again, very interesting. Like the people, the Beatles, the Queen, we're getting all these very interesting connections to British pop music.
Mm-hmm. But when I was searching for this on Apple Music a few years ago, there are two versions of the soundtrack. There's apparently some sort of audiobook version that speaks over it and sort of retells the story.
Yeah, like a narrative.
Yeah, and it was just it threw me off. I didn't like it. I understand why it's there, I guess, for somebody. I don't know if it's for a visually impaired person to sort of explain what's going on, but
yeah. I haven't heard that version. That's quite strange.
I forget the names attached to it, but it's odd.
I have the soundtrack on vinyl, the original.
Wow. Oh, nice.
The William Blake one, which is very beautiful to put on in Christmas time. Yeah, it's a lovely designed vinyl with the sort of the snowman and the boy on the front cover.
Oh wow.
And it's just the pure soundtrack along with, again, the song that appears in the special as well. That's really nice. One of my special Christmas vinyls.
Very nice. Well, now let's talk about the opening scenes to this special, because like so many things I've covered on this podcast, there are a few versions of this.
Yeah, it makes it more complicated, doesn't it?
Yes. The original broadcast featured Raymond Briggs himself walking through a snowy field on a very bleak-looking day, as he recalls a very similar morning from when he was a boy.
I remember that winter because it brought the heaviest snow that I had ever seen. Snow had fallen steadily all night long, and in the morning I woke in a room filled with light and silence. The whole world seemed to be held in a dreamlike stillness. It was a magical day, and it was on that day I made the snowman.
Yeah, nice and traditional. That again, I only actually saw that one as an adult on YouTube. I think I never saw that one on television when I was younger. It wasn't on any of the televised specials that I saw.
Really?
The second one, only the second and third ones were the ones that I saw growing up on TV. So when I again was a bit older and started researching, and Google was a thing and YouTube was a thing, and I Googled or YouTubed the Snowman intro, and that one came up, the first one with Raymond Briggs. I was like, this isn't right. What's this from? And then found out, this is actually the original first ever one that was on the first ever proper airing of this special.
Well, your story sounds pretty much exactly like mine. I didn't know there was an original of this until, it showed up on YouTube as an adult. But then the Snowman gets nominated for an Academy Award in 1983, and now American TV networks want to run it, but they apparently weren't keen on this intro with Briggs.
Yeah, I think it was maybe a bit too just an unknown old man, maybe to the Americans. It's a bit
Perhaps.
too British, and it's
maybe. But I found an interview with executive producer Ian Harvey to The Guardian, where he says he didn't realize that in the U.S. programs were sponsored. Oh yeah, and to be sponsored, you needed a big name. So they got a big name in David Bowie.
This attic's full of memories for me. We spent all our summers by the seaside. And in winter, at home, by the fire. Frost on the window. And snow. Snowballs and making snowmen. One winter I made a really big snowman. He got this scarf for me. You see, he was a real snowman.
Yeah, that's my other love of my life. I've got Christmas and I've got Bowie. Those are my two loves of my life. Basically.
It's a good pairing.
Yeah, I've got again on my vinyl shelf, I've got like a whole Bowie section and a whole Christmas section that take up, a good half of my vinyl, basically.
Yeah, I can see that taking up a good bit of your shelf.
And yeah, Bowie appearing on this special was probably my earliest Bowie reference in life. Before I was listening to music when I was just a little child, I didn't know who Bowie was beyond maybe just music being played in the background on the radio, and then seeing him on this, and then seeing him in the Labyrinth as well, with the two things that are my childhood sort of awakening of who is this man, who is this strange, unusual, exciting man, and then into teenage music fandom, and haven't looked back since, really.
That is exactly my timeline with David Bowie. This is the version I grew up with of the Snowman. This is where I first saw David Bowie. Before I even knew he was a musician, I knew him as the guy in the attic from the Snowman. And then he was Jareth in Labyrinth because I grew up in a Muppet household. So before Bowie came on board, some other big names that were suggested were Sir Laurence Olivier and Julie Andrews. That would have been something.
Very different from Bowie. Very, very different from Bowie.
Yeah, but someone requested a rock star, and that's how we got to Bowie, who was already a big fan of Raymond Briggs' work, particularly When the Wind Blows.
Yes, he did. I've got, again, on vinyl, I've got the single that he recorded a single for the TV version of When the Wind Blows.
Right.
A very poignant, sober, quite sad song. And I found very recently, actually, I was on a trip to another city over the summer, a place called Bristol. And in a record shop, they had it on 10-inch vinyl, like a big single. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's it. That's my next purchase, £15 into the bag. So that's added to my Bowie collection now.
Very nice. But Bowie was reportedly happy to do the Snowman intro, gets a scarf out of a trunk in his attic. My old VHS copy that my mom has since burned onto a DVD is just so dark, you can barely see him, but some clips I've watched online have either been restored or enhanced, so the scarf really pops in that scene when I watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, it's a little snowman on it, isn't it? It's blue, very bright blue with the snowman basically sort of dotted around it.
Right. And he kept the scarf.
Yes, I saw this story on Twitter, I think. It was going around on Twitter, wasn't it?
Yes, so I think you were the one who showed me this.
Yeah, I might have retweeted it.
David Bowie's son only found the scarf again last year.
Was it someone kept it and then gave it to him or something? Or did he keep it? I can't remember now. I can't remember the story.
So David Bowie's son is Duncan Jones. He's a director. If you saw the Warcraft movie from a few years ago, he directed that. Source Code with Jake Gyllenhaal. That's a Duncan Jones movie. Here he was looking in storage boxes for sock monkeys, of all things, and found the Snowman scarf in his attic, I guess, or in storage.
See, I don't find anything like that in my attic. Well, my attic is just old toys from when I was a child that have been broken and destroyed, and I think we've still got a broken guitar that I put up there when I tried to learn guitar for about a month and then gave up and just chucked it in the attic. I got nothing valuable at all up there.
No, I don't keep anything up in my attic because it's just a crawl space, and I live in Florida, so everything would melt. So, but the look on Duncan Jones's face in this picture he tweeted is priceless. So I'm going to put that in the show notes too. He's overjoyed, and I get it.
Yeah, I would love a scarf like that as well. I don't know why they haven't mass marketed them. I think that would, if they sold them here in England, especially those scarves.
I'm surprised they don't.
Yeah, you'd think they'd make a lot of money, especially Christmas time as a gift for people.
Mm-hmm. But then finally in 2002, for the special's 20th anniversary, Channel 4 produced a third intro of an animated Father Christmas watching the Snowman on Channel 4.
About time for the Snowman. Come on, out the way. You know, I was actually there more than 20 years ago when it all happened. I hosted the party and gave James his scarf. It really did snow that night. Even had me grounded. But in the morning, everything was twinkly and alive and touched with magic.
Yeah, so this was the Father Christmas from the other Raymond Briggs Father Christmas book and TV special. So again, that very British beloved Father Christmas character sitting and watching the special.
That's another special I want to get to at some point. That's a good one.
Yes, that's very good, yes.
And if you haven't watched that one, I did not realize the voice of Father Christmas is Mel Smith.
Yes, yeah, a very funny comedian, and a bit of a British national treasure as well over here. That is quite beloved for his quite sort of absurd and silly. It's almost a bit childish comedy in the way that if you ever watched any of his actual sort of comedy on television and stuff, he has some comedies in the 80s and 70s here on British television that were very, very funny and absurd, especially for their time in the 80s, quite absurdist comedy stuff and weird sketches. And I think he, if I'm getting correctly, I think he also did a Christmas song as well with Kim Wilde, a cover of Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree.
Oh, really? I haven't heard that one.
Yeah.
I don't think Mel Smith is very well known over here. Probably for a lot of Americans, the thing that we would know him best from is The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
He's the albino in The Pit of Despair, and he has what I think is the funniest, most underrated line in the movie.
Where am I?
The Pit of Despair. Don't even think.
Don't even think about trying to escape.
See, that's The Princess Bride. I've only seen that film once, so I watched it about 8 years ago. Again, it's not as big a cultural thing as it is in America here. People that like it, if that makes sense. And I had an American said, "You need to watch this." So I went away and watched it. I did love it, but it was about 8 years ago. I need to rewatch it. That's definitely my rewatch list.
Yeah, that's another one that I watched just incessantly because it was on a tape and I fell in love with it, and that became a year.
It's very much a nostalgia film.
Absolutely,
like the Goonies, and it's just a film that you watch for that buzz of nostalgia of childhood again.
That's exactly it. And I understand why they did this new intro for the 20th anniversary. And with this intro, but they also cropped the special to 16:9. Stop doing that.
Yeah. Is the age of television not really thinking about the quality? It was just put it on. Who cares?
Yeah.
And especially with televisions as they are now, you it's such an important factor to consider.
Right. Do you have Disney Plus?
I do, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have The Simpsons over there?
Yeah, all the series, yeah.
Are you familiar with the whole controversy where when they first put The Simpsons on Disney Plus, that was also cropped to 16:9?
I didn't see that, no.
With The Simpsons, they even cropped out some visual gags that didn't make sense anymore because it was cropped and enlarged. And it was just so poorly received, and they ended up finally adding a toggle switch to watch the old seasons in their original format, which I immediately turned on.
I don't know what they think. Do they think people will be like, "Oh, this is wrong shape," and then immediately turn it off? I don't know what they imagine would happen if you have it in the original shape, just because your TV is not shaped like that.
I think people remember a time where we all had the 4x3 box TVs, and people would rent movies that are in widescreen format, and they would complain about the bars on the top and bottom, and they don't want to go back to that, and people complaining about bars on the sides. But
True. But again, it's a very different purpose for the bars on the side, I suppose. You're seeing the whole thing rather than the whole thing cramped.
So we had these 3 intros now, but after Mel Smith died in 2013, I guess someone at Channel 4 decided, well, he's gone. Want to bring Bowie back? So
yeah, Bowie proved more popular, obviously.
Okay, so the annual runnings now have Bowie intro and the 4x3 aspect all in its lo-fi glory.
Yep, exactly. Back to the what I loved best from the 90s, basically. Back to my childhood. That's what I want.
There you go. And that brings us into our special proper as we switch to animation and our title card. And I really like how the letters start black and then fill with white snow. That's a nice touch.
Yeah, again, it's just so thoughtful and cozy and beautiful. All these little touches of the animation. It's obviously a very well crafted, I'd say, in terms of those little touches that you can see. And in some of the pieces we see later, the little sort of, because again, it's so simple, but just has that little effect of sort of taking you into the scene and drawing you into the story, drawing you into the characters.
Mm-hmm. And then they have an owl swooping across the screen at us. And here's where I have to tell a weird story.
Go.
A few years ago, I saw a video on Facebook. It's actually from the BBC of a snowy owl in flight caught on a traffic camera. And the still photo reminded me of this opening scene, so I shared it with a comment on Facebook. I keep waiting for David Bowie to show up and start talking about that snowman he made one time. I go to bed, wake up, see a friend commented, "Did you post this before or after he died?" And I'm like, wait, what? Here I posted this the night David Bowie died.
That's weird.
And didn't learn about it yet. Worst coincidence ever.
I'm going to say, yeah, so you're to fault, basically. It's your fault. That's what I'm saying,
I don't want to be responsible for having killed David Bowie. I think he was dead by the time I shared it, but no one realized it
You didn't know. So, okay, fine. I'll accept that excuse.
All right. I didn't do it, guys. So
you and the owl.
Yeah, the owl. Well, yeah, you can blame the owl. But back to this special, we pan across a very snowy countryside to a large house, and we zoom inside to find a small boy asleep in bed. I assumed it was supposed to be young David Bowie, but his name in this special turns out to be James.
Yeah, Bowie sort of says, "I remember," and gets the scarf out like this is his story, which again, it confused me as a child as well, especially as I got a bit older. Someone found out this is David Bowie's very famous rock star. I'm like, well, why is he telling the story? I got quite confused about that for a little while, I remember, when I was younger. Yeah. Because, it's not him. It's James, but it's imagining it's him, I suppose. It's Bowie's character of James.
There you go. Yes, he's playing a part.
It's Ziggy Stardust, Aladdin Sane, James from this Snowman.
That explains the red hair.
Yeah.
Wakes up super excited to see it snowing in his enormous backyard. Quickly gets dressed, and I forget this every year as I watch it, but the kid opts to go commando with no underpants.
Yeah, I forgot that you see his little bare butt for just like a few seconds as well. Just the little frames of some bums. Again, almost just something very British about that. And some people just couldn't get away with it nowadays, which is weird. You just couldn't show a small boy's bum on television.
No, you couldn't hear either.
Yeah, there you get a nice little flash of bum, just to show you there he is in all his glory.
Yep.
And commando style, comfy, obviously. Might be a bit cold, was my thought, actually, watching it back as an adult now.
That was my thought. He's putting on jeans over his bare bum to go play in the snow.
Not a good idea, no.
Brave lad. Runs downstairs past his dad and mom, grabs a pair of socks and his boots. Mom puts on a wool hat over his head and immediately falls off as he runs out into the snow.
I love that thrill and that excitement of playing in new snow, that he's just so hyped about it. And again, that is as childhood in a nutshell. That sort of, it's snowing, oh my God, outside we go. Especially for someone like, if you don't live in a snowy climate, which I don't, or in England, we get snow very, very rarely. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if you're in Orlando, I'm not sure if you see snow ever down there.
No, but I grew up north in New Jersey, so...
Okay, so there is snow, yeah.
I've had my share of white Christmases, but my kids have never seen substantial amounts of snow. Not yet, anyway.
No. But it's just that excitement when it does happen, that rare occasion when you wake up and the world is a different shade of beautiful pure white, and run out into that crisp snow, and there's that excitement of, and I love the sort of, you know, his excitement in that, the everything from the getting dressed, and then when he's running out and he's walking around in circles, he's jumping on things, he's making a snowball. It's just that sort of thrill, and the music as well is matching that excitement. You know,
the music is great, especially when he first walks out there. He kind of runs out and he just stands there for a second and takes it all in for a beat, and then he stomps around a little bit, or making a snowball, flings it at his own house, hitting the window, gets scolded by his mother. At least he didn't break a window. Have you ever broken a window, Adam?
No, not personally. I've been with a friend that's broken a window, but I managed to avoid the blame, even though I'm pretty sure I might have been the goading individual it was a friend of a friend's, like, they had a little outhouse in their garden. I think they were playing football or soccer.
Right.
And I was demanding he shoot the ball as hard as he could at me. I just didn't, I don't know, 12 years old, hit me as hard as he can with the ball, then moved out the way and the ball into the outhouse window. And his parents, actually, they were American. They were from Georgia, and they'd moved over recently, and they were not very happy with their son's new friends that had come over to teach them this game of football.
Oops. I broke a window. I think it was a street hockey ball that I hit into a friend's window, so that came out of my allowance for a few weeks.
Oh, yeah. That's going to happen.
But James got a little luckier than we did. Mom shouts out the window, apparently telling him to go play farther away from the house, which is fine here.
In a giant garden, yeah.
Yeah, he's got plenty of room to play because he lives in the middle of nowhere. Next, we see James begin to roll a big snowball that turns into him just shoveling more on top to create a big mound of snow that's taller than he is. Yeah,
it's a straight, like, when you imagine a snowman, I suppose you imagine the snowballs on top of each other. It's that sort of traditional look. But he starts with that and then just decides to create a hill, almost a giant sort of oval mound, rather than the sort of traditional snow, which I've never thought about that before. That the traditional, if I was asked to draw a snowman, or a kid would, they'd do the circles on top of each other, you know, getting smaller. But the snowman doesn't look like that. He's one big, long oval shape with a little round head, basically, which is quite an unusual snowman shape and design.
It is. It works here just to, when later on the snowman's moving around, it makes sense for him to have legs. But I'm surprised kids, especially over where you are, don't build more snowmen like that after seeing this special every year.
Yeah, I never tried it, I suppose. I do. Again, we haven't never had that much snow to build many snowmen, unfortunately. It all seems to come in sort of mid-January rather than December, maybe. So maybe there's less of a snowman impetus. But I do remember one Christmas where my cousins were over and it snowed quite heavily, and we tried to make a snowman in the garden, a normal traditional snowman, and I don't know what it was. We were just maybe terrible design individuals, and it ended up looking like, and this is what we called it, a snow mouse more than a snowman. It had some weird body shape going on. We tried to put the head together and it looked like it had little snow, like mouse ears. So we just turned it into a snow mouse in the end, put some whiskers on it with some like string. Put a little black, button nose for a mouse. So we had a snow mouse instead of a snowman, unfortunately, which would have been a bit more scary if that came alive, I think.
So James gets called in for tea, but he spends his whole time just staring out the window at his snow pile. Comes back out with a step stool to put the head on top of the pile, which, again, I am surprised I didn't try for this sort of snowman shape. And now that I live in Florida, it practically never snows here, so I'll never get the chance. But
you never get a chance, yeah. Maybe next time it snows, I'll try and send a picture.
Go. Perfect.
Yeah, I'll post it online.
But you know what Florida does have? Tangerines.
Yeah.
Which is what James uses for the snowman's nose, which, again, I think I like better than the carrot.
Yeah, non-traditional. Again, it's a bit more interesting, a bit more, I suppose, cozy, the little round orange. And oranges as well, I think, are quite a traditional Christmas gift in
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, put them in the stocking is quite, all the way back to the Victorian age, I think an orange was a very special gift to get at Christmas time. So maybe there's some connection there. I don't know if there's maybe some relation, or maybe that's just me making a Christmas connection.
Oh, could be. But James puts the finishing touches on a snowman, including a hat, a scarf, some bits of coal for the eyes and body, and just draws a smile on him with a finger. and stands back and admires his work like every artist should.
And a very well-made snowman for a little boy as well, on his own
Really
as well.
is.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Well-defined legs, arms, all there. You know, it's very well molded. It's like
Yeah.
a sculpture more than a snowman.
Right. I guess when you have the time and no one around to bother you,
Yeah.
goes back inside before it starts to get dark, and again just stares out the window all night at his snowman. And here's something I didn't notice until this time watching it. His dad is sitting by the fire with a piece of bread on a toasting fork.
Yeah, I obviously making toast, I suppose, but
I guess.
I think that's quite an old-fashioned thing to do. I think, you know, in Britain, probably a long time ago, that was slightly more common. You know, if you didn't have the toaster, that's how you do it, or an oven, a toaster oven.
Perhaps this is supposed to be Raymond Briggs' childhood, so
Yeah,
that's going
exactly.
back to the 1940s. But I've never seen anyone toast bread like that over their own fireplace. But
No, I think I have done it before at a festival when we when we had some music festival.
okay,
I went to quite a lot of music festivals as a teenager, and you'd often not have the right things that you need. And we took some bread, but obviously no toaster. And I think we decided to try and make toast because we had a little fire pit going on.
sure.
I can't remember how well it worked out. I think it toasted, but I think it burned before it actually toasted, if that makes sense. I don't think our toasting skills after a couple of drinks in the middle of a field at a festival probably scratch.
Well, it's getting late, so James's parents send him up to bed. We see him brush his teeth and take a few last looks at his snowman out the window before hopping in bed. See him toss and turn for a bit before waking up around midnight. Tiptoes down the stairs as the clock strikes 12 and looks out the window to see a sparkle of light come from his snowman, who turns around and smiles at him through the window.
Again, watching it this very recently, I realized how terrifying that would be in real life. Imagine you build a snowman in your garden. You know, you get up at midnight to get a drink of water. You look out into the garden and a snowman turns its head to look at you. That is the stuff of horror movies. That is literally horror film. Like, it would be horrifying. If I was a child, I'd be running screaming back up to mom and dad.
That's my note. By some miracle, he doesn't scream and wake up his parents, but instead he goes outside to meet the guy.
My first thought would be either it's the demon coming to get me, or someone who's dressed up as a snowman, a serial killer, to come and kill me. Those would be my two options. Not
lock the door.
Let's make friends with this guy.
Well, but Snowman tips his hat.
Yeah, maybe the tip of the hat. That's it. It's trusting.
Tips his hat, shakes his hand, and James invites him inside because why not? He made him. Hey, Snowman, come into my house and hang out with me in the living room where there's a hot coal on the fire.
I don't know why he didn't realize that sooner. I suppose he's a child, but
yeah.
Yeah, there's a big old blazing fire behind you, Mr. Snowman. Just be a bit careful.
Yeah, well, first off, I don't know how safe it is to leave the coals burning overnight inside your house.
No, even I think even back in the 1930s, I don't think that's a good idea. I think even probably more so than actually. People wouldn't have fire alarms or those sort of security systems.
Sure. And secondly, don't invite your snowman to hang out by the fire. Snowman pets the family cat, and you were talking about this earlier, who has the correct reaction to a living, moving snowman.
Yeah, I love the cat's reaction. It's just a ball of fuzz. Like, and again, I've had cats when I was younger, and when they get scared, that sort of every single hair and bit of fur goes up on end, and they screech off into the darkness. And that's exactly what he does. Again, exactly what I would probably do if I saw that snowman trying to pet me as well.
The snowman stumbles into and almost knocks over the family Christmas tree. Look, a Christmas tree, because it's a Christmas special, people.
Yeah, one little Christmas tree, very small little Christmas. There's no other Christmas decorations in the house, I noticed, which again might just be a 1930s British, household sort of thing. But
it could be.
I did notice that there was a lack of Christmas in the house apart from that very small, very cute Christmas tree in the corner.
Well, it seems to be sort of a last-minute addition because now in Raymond Briggs' original book, it was not a Christmas book. There's no Christmas tree there. He has commented saying that he thought it was a bit corny for the special to drag in Christmas, but he added it worked extremely well.
Yeah. If you're making a story about a snowman, it's not anyone else's fault if they think, oh, this might be about Christmas. A snowman are tied up with Christmas. They have been for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
You can't blame us for doing that, I don't think. Which I don't think he says it was done well, so I suppose he accepted it in the end.
Sure, yeah, he's not hurting at all by it, but no,
Probably made a pretty penny off it as well.
Exactly. So this TV special is indeed a Christmas special, and the tree solidifies it. James turns it on, and he and the snowman take turns making faces in the ornaments. And then he shows the snowman the television, which the snowman just stares at, mesmerized by a few seconds.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's meant to be some sort of criticism of TV.
That's
like,
what I
look
thought.
at it, hypnotizing, and it's really bad for you. It's ruining him. I don't know. I thought it was only so brief, but it did look a bit like he was, it looked negative in his staring at the TV.
Yeah, I could go either way with that. We don't see what actually is on the TV. All we see is static, but...
Yeah, it's entrancing him.
Yeah, but after a few seconds, the snowman starts to feel a bit woozy, and first I wondered, is the TV not good for snowman? But no, he's finally starting to feel the heat coming from the fireplace, so James takes him out of the living room and into the kitchen.
It's a snowman's weakness is fire, I'd say.
Well, yep. So the snowman's now fascinated a bit by the light switch in the kitchen and then the cold and hot water faucets before focusing on, now, is this a cake?
Yes, I think it's a Christmas cake, basically, like a decorated Christmas cake. I don't know. You do get Christmas cakes, which are quite a traditional thing where usually again covered in icing with some sort of Christmas, little marzipan or plastic little trees or whatever you get on top of it.
Okay.
That would be then eaten over the course of Christmas or given as a gift or taken to a party. So I assume it's that sort of classic Christmas cake.
Okay, and that's exactly what's on top of this one. It's a tree and a snowman topper that looks exactly like this snowman, so he admires that for a bit before finding a bowl of fruit.
I like how he's sort of fascinated by everything as well, which he would be. He's just come to life for the first time, and he's amazed by the lights, amazed by the taps, and then amazed by a bowl of fruit. These strange things he's never seen or heard of before. But he immediately knows, I need to get these. I need to put these on my nose straight away.
Yes. This is one of the scenes I remember the most from this special. Maybe not the most iconic, but this scene always gets the biggest laugh from me because he replaces his tangerine nose with a variety of table fruits. Do you have a favorite?
I quite like the cherry. I think it's cherry. It's tiny little one.
Tiny little one, yeah.
Yeah. And obviously the pineapple. It's got to be the pineapple. The pineapple's the best one. Just the absurdity of whacking a whole great pineapple on his face, basically. And it's somehow just becoming a nose as well. Like, it doesn't fall off because it's a giant pineapple. He just uses it as a nose.
Sure, and it stays on there, tickles James in the face with it a little bit.
Yeah.
The banana is also not a bad look compared to some of the others he picks.
Yeah, that's closer to that original carrot, I suppose.
Sure, there you go, yeah. Like an apple and a pear or the others, and they're all right.
Yeah.
The cherry's nice as well. Snowman then decides to look through all the kitchen cabinets, which is weird. But I guess if you've never been inside a house before and you've only been alive for 5 minutes, to your point, that's fine.
He doesn't know what's in there. He's looking for more fruit, maybe.
Perhaps, but he finally finds the refrigerator and takes a moment to enjoy the cool air coming from it. We see a ray of light coming from inside, from the light inside of the fridge, which they also used on the TV earlier, this sort of spotlight effect.
Yeah, that sort of glow almost coming out. Just quite an interesting animation as well. I quite like that.
Yeah, I like that glowing effect they pulled off in this colored pencil world. And then our next stop on the tour of James's house is his parents' bedroom. Why?
I have no idea. And I don't quite understand how they don't wake the parents. So they go into the bedroom and proceed to just pretty much use and try on and look at everything in the bedroom, open up the cupboard, try on clothes, and complete silence all the way through, apparently. I don't know how the adults must be the most heavy sleepers you ever did encounter, surely.
That is exactly my note. They are extremely sound sleepers. I'm a fairly sound sleeper. I don't always wake up when my kids come into our bedroom in the middle of the night, but if they ever came in and started walking around and playing with a giant snowman and putting on our clothes.
Putting on jewelry, I think, opening doors. We have a big cupboard, and whenever you open that big cupboard, it makes a noise. It's a bit creaky. It's a bit, it sticks. I don't know. They must have some very well oiled up hinges on those cupboards to make completely silent noises.
Yeah. But the first thing we see the snowman focus on is a pair of false teeth in a glass of water.
Yeah. And this scared me as a child. This is the one part of the special that I remember when I was a kid, I'd always be a little bit scared of. And then when I watched it years later, my mum would always be like, "Oh, you'd always be scared of this bit." And it's he puts on those big, scary false teeth in his mouth and does this horrible grimace smile.
Yeah,
and it's off-putting completely. He shouldn't have teeth. He's a snowman, so it horrified me. It's something weird about it. It's like unnatural.
The whole scene seems unnatural because they must be dad's teeth because they're on his side of the bed.
Yeah, I hope so.
They seem like a younger couple, probably our age now, but to have such a young boy. But we do see a pipe, so maybe that ruined his teeth.
Exactly. British are quite well known for our bad teeth as well. There is that stereotype. For good reason, obviously.
Don't smoke, kids.
Yeah.
Then, right, to his point, tries on mom's face cream and rouge in the vanity mirror.
Yeah, quite, I suppose, what's the word? Gender positive in a way, the snowman. You know, he doesn't think, he just tries on some makeup, tries on a pipe, tries on some, it's just absolutely, I'll try whatever. I don't care about whether I'm a boy or a girl.
Yeah, there's a nice mix of both mom and dad's clothes. And it doesn't look weird for the snowman to be dressed in anything. It's just like, all right, here's a snowman with weird clothes. What do you put on a real snowman in real life? Weird clothes, just whatever you can find.
We're rolling with it, yeah.
Absolutely. But James finally gets the snowman out of there when the perfume makes the snowman have to sneeze, and it's the old cartoonish sort of sneeze buildup where it's just like, and
sneezing that orange. Again, how is he sneezing through an orange as well? Where's he smelling through? I'm not saying as an adult, it ruins all your childish perceptions. I'm trying to logistically think, where are his nostrils in this orange? Did he poke 2 holes in it? Is it going in through the pores? Is too much I just have to push that out of my brain as an adult.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that part, but that's a good point.
They sneeze orange juice all over the place. Again, lots of questions.
Probably. Just wakes up and the floor's sticky. That's not even that wakes up the parents, despite the horns and the flute and the soundtrack suggesting it was a loud sneeze.
I got a feeling the parents are on some sort of sleeping tablets or something. There must be something going on there, yeah.
Again, the music is a real star of the special to me, which gets a chance to shine some more as we go into James's room. And the snowman finds a music box, and they dance around for a bit.
Yeah, nice little bit of fun dancing. Again, not waking up the parents, more music being played and stomping about. But oh well, the parents are fast asleep now.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it's that sort of childish silliness, isn't it? That's sort of being, again, as a kid when you're watching this, there's that, just that wonder and that excitement of everything, of dancing around, of making silly faces, of doing silly things. It's all very silly. And when you watch that when you're a kid, that's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it's exactly what you would do with a snowman if you're inviting him into your bedroom and to hang out.
Yeah.
It's mostly the snowman gliding around and dancing on one roller skate before crashing into a tower of balloons that James just has in a corner of his room for some reason, still perfectly blown up.
Maybe it was his birthday recently? I don't know. I can't think of any other reason why you'd have a load of balloons in your room.
Now I need to look up, did Raymond Briggs have a December birthday? Raymond Briggs, born January 18th. Okay,
the other side.
Yep. See, that's why it's not a Christmas book. But after that, we're back out in the hallway, and the snowman looks out of the front window and notices something outside hidden under a black tarp. And he really wants to know what's under there, and since the boy who invited a snowman inside by the fireplace has no better judgment, out they go to find a motorcycle.
Yeah, and more, well, actually not more, I suppose, but just a rather dangerous precedent, I think. If you have a friend over, just get on the motorbike with your new friend and off you go. Nope. Don't worry about safety, don't worry about helmet. Nope. Does the kid have a helmet? I can't remember.
No, they have helmets.
Yeah, I remember the snowman putting a helmet on, and then the kid somehow appearing a helmet from somewhere. Maybe it's his dad's, and they ride it together. Potentially, was my thought.
I think he gives the snowman the helmet, and I guess he has his. That's his side.
Yeah,
so
his own. So maybe he does ride it with his dad.
Yeah,
potentially.
he must know safety first. But
then lets the snowman again, who doesn't know how a light switch works, or man this giant machine capable of traveling at 100 miles an hour through a dark woods as well. It's not. They go off on this journey and may find their way into some woods in a moment. We're going to talk about, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
None of this is safe. None of this. Again, as an adult, I'm like, if my child set off on a motorbike with a snowman through the woods who had never ridden a motorbike before, I'm probably getting a phone call from the police that night.
Sure. Yeah, but no one else is around. A lot of this scene is in first-person view, so we see a lot of dodging through trees and recklessly speeding past animals.
Yeah, I quite like all the animals sort of, being almost run over, basically, by the snowman, the fox, and the owl, and the rabbits all just darting out the way of this terrifying snowman joyride.
Yeah, I do like watching this scene. And that yellow spotlight effect is back. It works great here. The motorcycle isn't not in the book. They sit in the car and don't drive it anywhere. But one of the animators was an avid motorcyclist, so it's a bike, which fits great. This whole scene is beautifully animated, even for this special.
And again, it's that sense of excitement, isn't it? It's that sort of rush of when you're a kid and you've got little toy bikes and cars and you drive them around. And I had a little, sit-on bike when I was a kid, and I'd pretend to rev it up and drive around the garden. So there's that thrill of that excitement as well.
Yep. And they circle back home, and the snowman either has saddle sores or the heat of the engine melts his legs a little, but they're sort of glowing. So James takes him in to an icebox in his garage. It's a large freezer chest, and the snowman climbs in, lies down with a bag of peas on his head. Then he finds a box of frozen fish and just stares at it for a few seconds.
Yeah, it's very mournful in this. I was trying to figure out why. Is the trees on it? He looks at the trees.
I'm guessing it's the trees. There are mountains on it. It's a picture of two fish swimming in a pond that's beneath pine trees and large snowy mountains. So I guess that makes the snowman frown and sort of look off in the distance.
But yeah, long for that place, I suppose.
I guess this is where the music takes a turn, and James follows him back outside like, "Hey, buddy, what's wrong?" And here we go. Snowman takes James by the hand, starts running through the yard, and then they take off flying. And we finally made it to the scene of this special, walking in the air.
We're walking in the air. We're floating in the moonlit sky.
Here we go. Yeah, into the big hit song of the piece. The first time we hear any words as well, apart from the intro, I suppose, is in the song. And again, the snowman can magically fly. As a child, you completely accept the fact that a snowman can magically fly. As a logical adult, all the things he's done so far, he showed no hint of magical abilities apart from coming to life. But now he's like, I can fly, by the way, kid. Off we go.
Sure. Well, there's at least one copy of the book with annotated notes by Raymond Briggs, and he wrote, "Snowmen are made of snow, which floats down from the sky, so going up there again seems natural."
True. Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense, actually. That's all the logic you need.
The song Walking in the Air is sung in the special by Peter Auty. Did I pronounce that right?
I think it's Auty.
Auty?
Peter
Okay.
Auty. Yeah, he's Welsh. I think he's a Welsh choir boy.
Yeah, he was a 13-year-old choir boy at St. Paul's Cathedral when he sang this. He's currently an opera tenor who still performs.
Yeah.
But apparently there was a cover of a song that was so popular, many people think that's the original.
Absolutely. And for a long time I did. As a child, I suppose you don't learn the name of Peter Auty. It was not something that I would have paid attention to.
No, I mean,
and if you ask I think a lot of British people, if you said who sings Walking in the Air in the Snowman, they'd say Ala Jones. That's the name they'd go to, Ala Jones, because a few years after the special came out, they wanted to record it as a single and release it. I think it was for charity, I think.
I read it was for a Toys R Us commercial.
That was it. Yeah, it was Toys R Us. That's what it was for. Yeah, for a Toys R Us commercial, even better.
Imagine a store the size of a sports field, crammed with thousands upon thousands of toys. All the games and models anyone could wish for, and exciting new toys no one's ever seen. The dream has now come true. Toys R Us. More toys than anyone in the whole wide world.
You're watching Channel 4.
And they the boy was, couldn't sing it maybe as well because he's grown up a little bit since then. So his falsetto voice wasn't quite there.
Yes.
And so this boy, Ala Jones, was recommended, who was this choir boy. He was Welsh, actually. And it became a huge, huge hit here. It was really popular, sold a lot. And then over the years was the one that you'd hear played on the radio. So if they played Walking in the Air, they'd play the Ala Jones version on, radio or in shops and stuff. So then everyone just made the logical jump that that's the one from the special, because they're very, very similar. The music's exactly the same and the voice sounds incredibly similar. It's a very beautifully high-pitched young choral boy's voice. There's not, much stylistic difference between the two of them. So most people, me including, for a long time would have said Ala Jones does that song, even in the special, when actually it was not. Yeah.
Okay. I had not heard this song outside of the special, so I had not heard this Ala Jones version until I was an adult. And it makes sense now that you say that it gets played on the radio, or it did get played on the radio every Christmas.
This was the single
that makes
version,
a lot more
so that
sense.
was the one that then in future Christmas rotation on radio and in shops and obviously on people at home as well. If people buy Christmas CDs, compilations or whatever, this would be the song that's on the Ala Jones one. And it's a beautiful song. It is really, really. It's sort of, to me, it goes hand in hand with Somewhere in My Memory from Home Alone. That sort of.
Okay.
Yeah, just like very sort of beautiful, high-pitched choir voice, children singing, quite almost a bit sad in a way as well. Both of them. There's a sort of sadness to them. There's that sort of they're not uplifting songs.
Yeah.
Really. They're quite sad songs.
No,
yeah, absolutely wistful. That's a good word for it. But beautiful at the same time. And it's a song that I sort of, it's probably not as big elsewhere as it is here in Britain, and you don't get many covers of it because of that, because it's just this odd little British song that maybe doesn't get much airplay outside of British radio. You don't get many covers, and I quite like looking for interesting Christmas covers. So whenever one does pop up of this song, I'm always quite excited. And one of the best ones, one of my favorite Christmas covers of the sort of, ever, is by a band called the Maccabees, who are a British indie band. They've had 3 or 4 albums. I think they sort of split up a couple of years ago, but they're one of my favorite bands when I was a teenager at uni. They were indie pop rock. So they were, I was a proper little indie kid at university, saw them live a lot. And then they, I think it was for a radio show, they recorded the live version of Walking in the Air at Christmas, like a guitar rock indie version.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing. It's really, really good. It's beautiful. It sort of captures the original, but adds this sort of guitar flair to it and this edge to it. And yeah, you should definitely check that out if you haven't heard it.
Oh, now I need to.
Yeah.
So James and the Snowman circle over their farmland before other snowmen turn their heads upward and join in on their flight with them. And we get a better picture of where James lives at this point. We're flying over Brighton on England's southern coast.
Yep, not far from me. I live on that coast. I live about half an hour from Brighton. I did live closer. I lived in, so Brighton is a town on the south coast, or city called Brighton and Hove. And Hove is just right next door. And I lived in Hove originally. And I've just moved further down the coast a little bit to buy a house. But it's only about half an hour into Brighton. And Brighton's a very, very famous cosmopolitan seaside city, quite arty, quite artistic. It's got the only MP in the country who is part member of the Green Party, which is like our environmental party. So it's a very environmental city, has a large LGBTQ plus community and lots of artistic like shops and independent sort of areas. Very popular for like lots of people come from London for like a weekend because it's the beach and there's lots of bars and clubs and shops and stuff. But it's beautiful. Yeah, the 2 places they fly over in the Snowman, they fly over a place called the Royal Pavilion, which is, I don't know if you saw, it looks a bit like an Indian sort of
okay, yeah, that's the one that
palace
I saw.
Yeah.
I had to look
which
up
is very odd.
these.
Yeah, which is, it was again, when I remember first coming across to Brighton when I was younger, I'd come across from university to visit friends here, and I'd always be like, why is this Indian palace in the middle of Brighton? And I think it was built in the Victorian age for a king, and it was modelled on basically Indian architecture and stuff. It's a beautiful building. I went there actually, or there's a little museum next door with a David Bowie exhibition on at the moment. To link back to David Bowie, a photography exhibition of David Bowie, which is like in that building in the Royal Pavilion. I went to last week, and it's got a museum and gallery and stuff in there. And then they fly over the pier as well, Brighton Pier. You can see it's called the Palace Pier, which is there. There's 2 piers in Brighton. There's one called the West Pier, which burnt down. And it's just a big husk. It's like a giant blackened husk. It's quite famous, and there's lots of birds nest on it. It's quite beautiful, actually. It burnt down like 40 years ago or something.
Oh, wow.
And then there's the Palace Pier, which is the one in the special, which is still around. And it's, traditional seaside pier in Britain. It's got an arcade on it with lots of games. It's got a little fun fair on the end. You get fish and chips and snacks and stuff on it. It's a nice day out, basically. But those 2 places, signify Brighton, basically. If you're English, you'd see those 2 and go, that's Brighton straight away.
Okay. And in the book, this is where they stop. They don't continue on. They land at the pier, they see the sun rising, and they head right back. But here we fly over the water, past a party cruise ship, and one guy spots James and the Snowman flying, looks down at his bottle of champagne in an "I've had enough" face.
I'd say that's the one almost sort of adult joke in the special. Mostly it's all for kids, and that's the one that maybe if you're a kid, you might not quite get what's going on if you don't quite notice. So that's that little one for the adults watching, for the parents watching.
There you go. And then they continue flying over the water, up the North Sea, I'm guessing, and over the coast of Norway, including over this village where they fly past the window where a young girl's very surprised to see them and looks down at a Christmas card with Santa and his reindeer, very confused.
Yeah, bless her. She looks very confused with that.
And finally, they fly over the Arctic Ocean, over a whale, and then some penguins. And I don't think I've had to bring this up on the podcast yet, but penguins don't live in the Arctic.
Yeah, obviously the research had not gone into the researchers had not gone into detail enough on their animal research for this. They got the British animals right in the countryside, and then just gave up as soon as they got outside of England. Yeah,
wrong pole, but fine. Yeah. We fly toward the northern lights and then land in front of a dark forest, which makes James look nervous, and that's accompanied by this eerie music, which is a nice touch.
Yeah. Again, another dark forest. We went through the forest on the bike, and now we're back through some more creepy woods. It's just like, how many red flags do you want, James? Like, if I've got someone taking me through some creepy woods, I'm like, okay, I might just, call the police at this point.
There you go.
But no, James just happily goes along.
Sure. Snowman takes him by the hand, leads him into a clearing, and we find a large gathering of snowmen, at the center of which we find Father Christmas.
Yes, the Father Christmas. And again, this is it's based on the Father Christmas from the other Raymond Briggs. Ever so slightly different in if you watch the Father Christmas special, it looks ever so slightly different, but you can tell it's meant to be that Father Christmas.
Yes, here he's wearing a kitchen apron, and he seems to be hosting a snowman party.
Of course, as Father Christmas does every year.
Yes. We get a sequence where James dances with a group of snowmen. And I counted them all while they're dancing in a circle, and I counted 31.
31 snowmen.
All wearing different hats from around the world.
Yeah, I did pay attention to it. My favorite one was probably, did you see the cowboy snowman?
Yes, I'm thinking, all right, which one's the American? Oh, it's the one with the gun.
Yeah.
Lovely.
The one with the guns on, because, you need to make sure he brings guns to the party. So the Father Christmas's party. And I did see a Scottish snowman as well. They did a bit of the in his kilt doing the Highland fling. I believe that's Scottish dance.
Okay.
There was a snow woman as well. One snow woman. It's a bit
just
like the Smurfette. One. Yes. One individual female version of all of those. Just you got to put one in there. Just to seem a little bit less sexist.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't know they could all eat and drink. They're all eating and drinking.
Sure, they have just regular. They look like cupcakes and drinks with straws.
Yeah, someone's got like champagne or something. I'm sure someone's got a bottle of champagne swigging around, so they can drink alcohol. Again, a whole other logistical. Where's the digestive system? Where's this going? Should they be drinking alcohol? I'm not sure, especially if they're flying. There's lots of logistical things to consider here as an adult. and one my other thought again about sort of going back to the creepiness of this, I suppose. Why is he the only snowman that brought a kid?
Hey,
There's no other kids there. He's the only one.
He's the only one who woke up.
Yeah, it must be.
Maybe
They've had to allow him. Yeah, it's not like a sacrificial thing, is what I was maybe thinking at first.
Dear.
Like one snowman brings one child each year to be sacrificed, and maybe Father Christmas is like, no, we can't do that. We can't do that anymore.
Or between that and sunrise, and everybody else is asleep, James just happened to not be able to sleep, so he's the lucky one.
He lucked out. Yeah, exactly. Got invited to the snowman ball.
And after the dance, Father Christmas takes James to see his reindeer, and hey, since he's here, I might as well give you your Christmas present now. So this is where we see the name James. It's on the tag of his present.
Yep.
And again, this whole sequence is not in the book. The boy doesn't meet Father Christmas. He's not given a name, but one animator decided to put her boyfriend's name on the tag, and so we have James.
That's quite sweet. I mean, like, you know, I think, did it say that they got married as well?
Yes, they are married.
Yeah, well, that's good. You know, that would be pretty bad if you know, it was your boyfriend and then you had a horrible breakup and then you could never watch this special again.
Oh, dear. Glad that turned out to be a happy ending. Now that you mentioned that. And inside the package is the scarf with the pattern of James's snowman, which...
Yes, Duncan Jones's scarf.
There you go. When you think about that logistically, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's Santa, I suppose, or it's Father Christmas. He knows.
There you go.
He knows absolutely everything. He knew this was going to happen. He had it all ready and planned and prepped.
The magic of Christmas.
Exactly.
But speaking of James's snowman, he points at the sky, indicating it's time to go home. So James gives Father Christmas one last hug, and off they fly back home. The return flight's a lot shorter, but they get home just as the sun rises. Snowman waves goodbye as James goes to walk back inside his house, but he turns and gives the snowman one last hug before he goes in and back to bed. And the snowman turns around the way he was. James goes back to sleep, wakes up at noon, according to the clock on his nightstand.
He's had a big night, I suppose. I don't know what time. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Although, again, why has his parents come and woken him up?
I don't know, but...
Maybe they're still sleeping as well, to be honest.
Could be.
The way that they were sleeping before as well.
Yeah, they weren't. No, now that I think about it, they were fully dressed. They're just sitting and having tea at their kitchen table, but... Because he leaps out of bed, runs downstairs, past his parents sitting, and outside to find his snowman has melted.
Completely melted, disappeared.
None of the rest of the snow has melted, just his snowman, which is the opposite of how it works. But
obviously, maybe there's some magic about it, or had to disappear the next day.
Yeah, easier to draw.
Yeah.
but the last shot is James pulling out his scarf from Father Christmas, so it wasn't a dream. And he just sits next to his melted snowman, devastated. This might be the first sad ending I've ever experienced.
Yeah, again, that's British TV for you, I think. We don't like, well, we do like a happy ending, but we like a sadness. I've been reviewing on my podcast like British Christmas specials, and some that I haven't seen before, some that I have seen before. And the one thing I keep noticing about quite a lot of them is that a lot of them will have really sad moments or really poignant moments. Maybe not at the end, maybe in the middle somewhere or towards the end, compared to when I watch American Christmas specials and it's all quite joyful and gleeful. And if there is a sad moment, it's very quickly resolved, and it's not sadness. It's not real sadness. It's, somebody's, lost their present or something. But in British Christmas specials, there's a moment where something's quite bleak, where people cry, where someone gets upset, where someone has an argument, where something happens, someone dies, or, there's always a sort of, quite often, this very poignant, sad moment. And I think this sums it up best at the very, very end, to have this ultimate bleak, happy ending, unhappy ending, sums up quite a lot about British Christmas TV.
Okay.
If you think about, you've seen Love Actually.
Yep.
So Love Actually is, a very famous British Christmas film, and it has lots of stories in it, some with very happy endings, but some with very sad endings. Yes. There's some sad endings in that, some really sad moments that I cry watching every single year with breakups and heartbreak and stuff. And it's these two things go together, and Christmas is not just about full and happiness and joy. Sometimes it can be about sadness and poignancy and sort of a little bit of looking back on loss or whatever it may be.
Just Emma Thompson sitting and listening to Joni Mitchell, and the saddest version of that Joni Mitchell song too. Usually it's a pretty upbeat, well, not upbeat, but more upbeat than it is in this. But
That's the one that sends me over the tears start falling at that point.
Oh dear.
Love Actually. Don't remind me. Don't remind me.
But this is a good gateway to learning at a young age. Hey, not every story ends happily.
Exactly, and I think that's what he said, didn't he?
Yeah, I have the comment here. Raymond Briggs commented, I don't have happy endings. I create what seems natural and inevitable. The snowman melts, my parents died, animals die, flowers die, everything does. There's nothing particularly gloomy about it. It's a fact of life, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I agree completely with everything, but it is very gloomy as well.
Yeah. Well,
I love the fact that my parents died just like as next to the snowman melting. He's a very matter of fact guy, and that's lovely, I suppose, in a way, and very British in a way, I suppose, quite stoic. Yeah. And this is how it is. This is how life is. But for a 5-year-old watching this and crying their eyes out because snowman's just melted and their best friend's been taken away, it's hard to explain.
Yes, but
life lesson from an early age, obviously.
Yeah, we made it out okay.
Yeah, and it makes the when the wind blows more, it makes a lot more sense now as well.
Yes,
with that quote.
But Adam, any final thoughts on the Snowman in general?
It's something that I think more Americans especially should watch, and then trying to get to the mindset of a British person, because I think a lot of Americans view it maybe from that perspective of the American Christmas special with everyone happy-go-lucky, there's song and dance, everyone's happy, there's positivity, it's meant to be fun and dance. And then they watch this and don't maybe understand that ending. It's too bleak, it's too sad, it's too strange, too weird. So I think you need to sort of, imagine you're a Brit when you watch this and be a little bit bleak. That's what we like. We're a bleak nation. We're a nation of people that like to complain, like to moan, like to whine about everything, queues, the weather, traffic, anything and everything. We need something to be sad about sometimes. It's just in our nature. We're not as upbeat as a lot of other countries, for maybe good reason, but we're sort of, it's a good kind of negativity. It works because we then the highs are higher. And also then we sort of appreciate things. I like to think more. We accept the inevitability so we can appreciate things better, including your snowman melting and your best friend being lost to you. Yeah.
Yes. Well. So my last thought about this is there was a sequel to this special in 2012.
Yes. Yeah. Have you seen the sequel?
I have. I was the only one who saw this back in 2012 out of my friends here and got really excited about it. Maybe that was the point when I realized, okay, maybe the original isn't as popular as I remember or think it was, but...
Yeah. I've only seen it 2 or 3 times, I think, not as much as The Snowman, which I watch every year. I liked it. It was very good. Maybe I won't talk too much about it in case you want to talk about it in a future episode, but...
I definitely do.
Yeah, it's quite nice. It's quite sweet. It's an interesting update on the story. I think it does a lot that this story does well as well. It sort of, just keeps that same tone. It doesn't try and go too American, I suppose, or too, bawdy or modern. It keeps that sort of tone, which I quite like.
Yes.
Something else I want to add about the Snowman as a character as well. So there are 2 sort of things that he's been used in over here in advertising that are quite well known, which I don't know if you've seen or not seen. So one is for Barber, which is like a clothing company.
Okay.
And they make quite famously like outdoor clothes, especially jackets and boots and things like outdoors, rugged sort of things. And I don't even know why they use the snowman in their adverts. They just do, and he like puts on their jacket basically is the idea, and their boots, to go on his adventures. And that's quite sweet. But the other one, which is quite funny, and I assume they got the rights to it because I'm pretty sure from my memory it's the original like artwork and design of the snowman is a Scottish drink called Iron Brew.
This is the one I saw.
Yes. Have you heard of Iron Brew before?
Not before seeing this, no.
So Iron Brew is a Scottish, fizzy drink, soft drink. It's very hard to explain what the flavor is because it's not like a fruit flavor. It's its own thing. It's a bit like I suppose an energy drink kind of. Something we have over here called Lucozade. It tastes a bit like that, but also not. You can't. I'd say just go and if you find an Iron Brew, just buy one and see what it tastes like because it's its own unique flavor, and it's very popular in Scotland. Like it's pretty much Scotland's national drink is Iron Brew.
Okay.
Or non-alcoholic drink, I should say, because Scotch is their national drink. But the Snowman did, an advert for Iron Brew, and it's very funny and very silly. And if you again get a chance to go watch it, because it's quite an absurd, silly little. It actually is sort of quite un-snowman-like in a way in what the snowman does in the
Yeah. That link is also in the show notes.
Yeah, go and watch it. I don't want
Absolutely.
to spoil it because it's funny.
No, it's pretty good. But yeah, from what you've told me today, I'm glad to see that this special is very beloved in its homeland, if it's not here. But please go check out The Snowman if you haven't before. It's one of my favorites. And Adam, thank you so much for coming on and help me defend it. This was a blast.
Thank you very much for having me. It's lovely to try and share some British Christmas perfection is what I call it. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And on that note, if people want to relax in your freezer and stare wistfully at a box of frozen fish, where can they find you on the internet?
So I have a podcast called Merry Britsmas, and I have a Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook account and group, all called Merry Britsmas. And on that podcast and on my Twitter and on my Instagram and everywhere, I share British Christmas things. So that is, I talk about British Christmas television, music, traditions, and share various funny, odd Christmas videos and moments as well on my Twitter every day.
Yes, it's a great listen all year round. Please check it out. I am on Twitter at FallWestMike. You can find show notes on the tangents we went on today at adventcalendar.house. And we'll continue counting down the Christmas in a couple of days. Until then, we're Adam from Merry Britsmas, from somewhere high above the Arctic Ocean. This is Mike Westfall reminding you all to mind the icy patch and tell your snow people you love them before they're gone forever. Later!
And now, these messages.
It's Christmas!
Hello, this is Adam from Merry Britsmas. I am a Christmas fanatic from the UK who thinks that the world needs to know more about the traditions, telly, and music that helps make a British Christmas really festive. I look at everything from mince pies to Boxing Day to Wham to Slade to the Royal Family to Doctor Who. If you want to find out more about a British Christmas, or you are British and want a hit of nostalgia, check me out at Merry Britsmas.
An happy blooming Christmas to you and all.
Next time on the Advent Calendar House...
The Dick Van Dyke Show. Starring Dick Van Dyke.